Hi everyone, my name is Katie. Welcome back to my channel, and for today's video I'm doing like a phase 2 advice video. So yes, if you're watching this when I upload this, it is Sunday, March 16th. It is very close to match day. Match day is Wednesday, March 19th, at least for the year of 2025. Very similarly dated for other times of the year, but today I'm going to be giving like advice on phase 2 and the match, kind of what to expect. So I'm currently a PGY1 resident, and I was a phase 2 actually. So I matched in phase 2 last year and did not match in phase 1. And so just kind of wanted to provide some advice and some insight from somebody who has like physically went through the process, because I will say it was tough. So first off, I'm just gonna note that I have some notes behind me here, so I will be scrolling on my computer, which is where you're set up. So sorry if that like shakes the camera or anything. I just want to make sure I don't miss any points. But that's about it for the intro, so let's go ahead and get started. I first wanted to go over like a quick overview of like what is phase 2, kind of the process, what to expect. So it's going to be the same process as phase 1. So everything that you'll be doing for phase 2, you've already done for phase 1. However, it's going to be much quicker this time around. So you're doing it over again, but it's going to be at an accelerated pace. Basically, everything is going to happen over the span of a month. And as a result of that, like interviews are going to become shorter. They're going to become virtual. You may have had some virtual ones in phase 1. I know, like for me, I had like a mix of both. But for phase 2, just with the simplicity of like the nature of it all, everything's going to be virtual. So just kind of like an FYI too, you don't need to participate in phase 1 in order to participate in phase 2. I will say it's easier because most of your stuff is already done, but it's not like a requirement. Like you need to participate in phase 1 to participate in phase 2. So if you're watching this and you're like, I didn't participate in the match for phase 1, but you know, I changed my mind. I want to do residency. You can totally do it under phase 2. It just will be a little harder and more fast-paced. So now I want to talk about like the timeline for this year, and this is referencing 2025. You can refer to like ASHP for like other years, or if you just want to see like the actual website of the dates for this year too, you can just go to ASHP and they have like the schedule there. So kind of like I mentioned, March 19th is going to be match day this year. So that's going to be like earlier in the morning. Typically, I think last year I got my email, I don't remember if it was 5 a.m. or 6 a.m., but it was quite early in the morning. I will say that. I think it was 5. No, actually, I think it was 6. I don't know. I don't remember. I have the email somewhere, but it's early in the morning. But on that same day, at 12, oh, by the way, for me, when I was saying 5 a.m., I'm in PST. So I guess 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, because I'll be referring to everything in Eastern Standard Time since that's how the website does it. But so on match day at 12, so noon EST, then the list of programs who didn't match or who have like spots open will be released. So then on the 20th, the day after at 12 EST noon, forecasts will open again and you will be able to start doing all of that stuff, all of that fun stuff. And then on the 24th at 9 a.m. EST, you can begin submitting your applications. You're going to want to look at the programs for their specific due dates, and that's going to be like on the program's like specific website, and just submit as soon as possible. And then on April 16th, basically midnight, well, not midnight because that would be the 17th, but 11:59 p.m. on the 16th, your rank order list deadline is going to be due. Be careful for you PST folks like me. It's going to be 8:59 p.m. Well, first off, don't wait that late into it. But I have heard stories of people who did, and consequently, like, they couldn't. It was too late. So basically, I'm just saying, do not wait to the last minute, but that is when the deadline is. And after that point, you will not be able to make any changes to your rank list. Then on April 23rd, it's going to be match day for phase 2. So that's kind of like the timeline. And as you can see, March 19th to April 23rd, about a month-long period. It's going to be a very, very quick, very fast period. So you're gonna want to jump on it right away. So now moving on to my advice section of this video. I do understand that it is sad and it is disappointing. I personally understand because I went through that. I was devastated when I didn't match last year, and kind of very stressed, like what am I gonna do? Like, will I even match in phase 2? Like, just so many questions. But just note that if you're in the same boat that I was, it's not a you problem. Like, this doesn't necessarily mean it's a you problem. There's a lot of reasons why you may not have matched. It's depending on a lot of things. It could be maybe just you didn't look out with the opportunities that you had available to you with your appy year. Because I know that it's kind of like a luck of the draw for what rotations you get. So maybe, you're applying for acute care and you didn't have any acute care rotations, but now you do because you're in March. So you can use that to your leverage. Things like that. Like, some things are totally out of your control, or maybe you were just ranked number 2. Or this is assuming there's one spot, which generally there's not for like PGY1s. But hypothetically speaking, for a simplistic example, pretend you're number 2 and just number 1 happened to match. You're number 2. That doesn't mean you're not a good applicant. It just means you didn't match. So just be aware that it is sad, but it doesn't necessarily mean you're a bad applicant. Because you shouldn't take that negativity with you going into phase 2. So what I did, and what I would recommend to anybody who is going through this as well, is to just take one day to be sad. So take March 19th this year, like, to be sad. You're allowed to be sad. You're allowed to cry it out and just decay, like, you are allowed that day. But once it's the 20th, you wake up that next morning, get to work. You had your day, you mourned, now you're gonna get to your work, because this process is so quick and you're gonna need to turn your applications like that. So honestly, just like get to work on refining your application, your CV, because you've done a lot from December through March that isn't reflected on any of your application materials. So make sure to add that in. Start researching your program, seeing what's available and where you may potentially want to go. And also just kind of do some reflection in this process as well. Kind of like I mentioned, like, think of some reasons why, you didn't match. Like, could it have been your letter of intent? Could it have been your CV? Maybe like your clinical portion during your interviews you didn't do as well on. Like the were you too like specific with location and you didn't, put all of your eggs in all the baskets out there? So upon me doing this reflection, I realized I was way too narrow with my location choice. And so for phase 2, I was much more broad, and I was like, I'm willing to go out of state. I'm willing to go anywhere, because it's only a year of your life. It's honestly like, it's kind of cool, because like, when else in your lifetime will you get to live in a certain area for just a year, or potentially longer if you stay on? But you get my point. Like, you're only bound to stay there for a year. A year goes by so fast. It honestly does. I'm here, sitting here, almost at the end of my PGY1. Like, wow, that flew so fast. So trust me, it might be scary, but it flies. So I'm pausing here real quick because I have another piece of reflection I forgot to, state. But I also realized during this process that my letters of recommendation, while they were very strong, the types of people that they came from weren't necessarily the best that they could be, because I was very much applying to like acute care programs for my PGY1, and I unfortunately didn't really have like an acute care letter that reflected my skills in that setting, just simply with the way that my rotations were laid out. So I did have very strong letters, but none of them were really pointing towards acute care. And so going into phase 2, I identified that as a weakness. I went up to my preceptor, who I was currently with, in an inpatient rotation, and asked them, if they would be willing to write me a letter of rec, a strong one, of course, and gave them, as much time in advance as I knew, because ultimately that takes a lot of time on their end, and I wanted to give them as much time as possible because this process is short. So if that's something that you have to go through as well, just make sure you give ample amount of time for that to be done. Okay, now we'll resume back to the video. So, like I was saying, you're going to want to submit your applications as soon as possible, definitely before the deadline. Programs will start giving you interview offers really quickly. I remember I submitted my applications just like a couple days after the whole process, and I started getting offers quick, like super quick, like days, if even days, like just right after I submitted. Phone calls, everything. So just make sure you're on your toes. You might do a couple of phone interviews. I did that. You might have also done that in phase 1 too, but I think I had more of that in phase 2, just since there's like a high volume of people applying in such a short period, to try to like shrink down the pool a little bit. So you might be doing some phone interviews, prepare for that. But during this process, I will say it is more important than ever to remain organized. Like, if there is one time in your life that you are going to be organized, it is right now. This process will be very rapid, a little overwhelming, and maybe a lot overwhelming. But what I'm trying to say is there's going to be a lot of stuff going on. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to create a calendar to schedule your interviews, and include your virtual links on that calendar. So I use Google Calendar, and I just, made the event for however long, and then I put the link on that event. And that way I could just click on that and it'd be super easy to join my interviews, because some of them are on Teams, some of them are on Zoom, some of them are on WebEx. So it's just easy to have them all in one place, because your email inbox will be flooded. So yeah, it's important to be organized more than ever for this. And because it is such a short period of time, and because you're going to be getting potentially a lot of interview offers in a short period of time, I think all of mine were within like 1.5 weeks. I think like all my interviews within 1.5 weeks. I could check my calendar, and I'll update it on the screen here if it's different, but yeah, it was a lot. So there are bound for conflicts to happen, obviously. Programs will give you dates, you accept the dates. Obviously, not all the programs are going to give you the dates at the same exact time. So you'll find out that maybe, oh, dang, like I have conflicts, but I really want to interview with this program. Just let the program know as soon as possible. They're going to be understanding about it. Like every time I had a conflict, I let them know. They were super nice about it. And if they genuinely want to interview with you and they're a good program, like they will make the effort to, be adjustable and flexible with that, because it's out of your control, they understand that. So it's okay. Just make sure to tell them as soon as possible. If you wait, then that's also not going to look good on your end either. And the last piece of advice that I have with all of this is be aware of time zones. It is more important than ever to be aware of time zones, especially with how quick all this information is getting thrown at you. It can be confusing if like a program provides a time in EST and you're on the West Coast. So for me, I was super conscious of that in my Google Calendar. I, obviously translated it to be the time. So if the interview started at like 10 a.m. EST, then I would mark it on my calendar, obviously at 7 a.m., right? So I knew that that's the time I need to join. So just be cognizant, basically, of the time differences. It's going to be especially important for virtual interviews, obviously. You probably dealt with that in phase 1 as well, but I just want to bring that to your attention, because when things go so quickly, it's easy to miss simple things like that. So yeah, but ultimately it's going to be okay. You're going to be fine. I know I was super stressed during phase 2 last year, and it is a really stressful time, but there are a lot of people who have gone through it, and myself included. Doesn't mean you're a bad applicant. honestly, I think it shows programs that you are resilient and that you don't give up very easily. And I think that's a good trait to have in residency, and you can use that to your advantage. Not saying that phase 1 or phase 2 applicants are better than the other, but I don't think one is necessarily better. I think they're both equal and special in their own ways. So yeah, don't be too discouraged. And if you're watching this before match day comes out, good luck. Crossing my fingers for you. You got this. Let me know in the comment section if you have like any questions about the process. If you want to share like where you matched to and like let me know, that's always fun. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Good luck, and it'll all be worth it. I post videos every Sunday. Hope to see you back again next week. Bye.